that kind of sits well with the Pentecostal movement. A lot more. If you even look at what's going on in America, it's a lot more the Pentecostals that are pushing, that agenda and have almost come together, and accepted that, we will support, this genre of films and they will be successful. TD Jakes, for example, has a production company, and has pushed that, and there's an agenda to ensure that, the voice of the church, would also, resonate and will be heard even in mainstream and entertainment. So there's a deliberate policy. So there are things to talk about, you talk about juxtaposing. So there's a conscious effort. There's also something about even Christianity as a whole in the US and the consciousness of, maybe not even seen as faith-based, seeing it as entertainment generally. So it's difficult to kind of compare to ours, where under the guise of being very religious, we have an issue with going to the cinema, to watch a film, mingling with unbelievers. We have a lot of that issue. But I will summarize what I think, some of the issues. This is something very, dear to my heart. Over the last 18, 24 months, I've been asking, I grew up, in the faith. I told people here last year, I grew up in Deeper Life. My father is a Deeper Life pastor. And for a long time, I've been asking God for what my purpose is, doing this, finding myself in this career, in this job, and making a modest success of it, I hope, judging by some feedback yesterday, maybe contentious as well. But beyond just, the cinema growth and, attendance growth, what impact, am I making as, the churches preferred you to bring the film to the church as opposed to telling their congregation to go sit in cinema. And, so that's something that, can you condemn that? You can't. I mean, that's their preference. So it also opens up things about, can this be viably done as a business concern? There's so many issues. So we found that as an issue. We also found an issue of, because of that, it was hard to get it endorsed by a number of the ministers. Because a lot of these things will be opinion leader, or opinion influencer driven. In the US, a lot of these pastors will come together and will actually endorse and encourage their members to go and watch. So that became an issue. Barring one pastor, I have to call his name here, amazing pastor, Pastor Goke of House on the Rock. I have to give it to him with no kind of like, oh, sir, here's a gift, he was at Ikeja City Mall, he was at Lekki, he watched the film by himself, and he was selflessly promoting. And trust me, we engaged big name pastors. We wanted them to see it for free. Maybe am I lying? For free, private screenings. See, let's push this thing. And we got one excuse or the other. It's not available here. It's not available there. With some, we even gave free advertising, for their conventions or their programs. So it makes you just wonder what the mindset is, what we could be doing more in trying to, I don't know whether it's educate, and trying to kind of broaden their mind on how we can make an impact with the church, outside of the church. As a church movement, outside of the church.
Outside the walls of the church.
Outside the walls of the church. Like a faith-based movie doing well in the cinema is a statement. And those are the kind of things that we need to make. So I don't know whether I answer your question directly, but those are the kind of challenges working. That was my first experience releasing something I was very passionate about. And we've spoken about also doing something that is of Nigerian, and my brother, my friend Bibi did God Calling. Very, very well made film. I think for what it was a relative success. Could have been better, could have been more. But it also gave us an indication of what was possible. That film made about 40 million. Mistakes here and there around the distribution. Because again, like I said, that competition between church and cinema came up. So in essence, you started diluting to have been subsidized. Those church numbers would have, kind of eroded the numbers you would have used in box office. And so these are some of the...
Was the church opening free? Sorry.
So some of the churches were a flat license fee.
Okay.
To be a screening fee, as it were. So I think it's also understanding, again, like we said, and getting an education of how this thing works as a business. And whilst business is very important and the message we want to pass across, I think getting that balance would always be an evolving discussion. Trust me, as well as established as the US is, I think they're also having evolving discussions. But what they've done successfully is that US studios are looking at faith-based movies intently, particularly because the stories that they know, and they're just recycling them. But with faith-based, they have an opportunity to tell different kind of stories. So that would be my kind of
I'll come back to
holistic view.
Thank you. Claudia, you could give us your own holistic view as a producer using the faith-based film you produced was this year?
Yeah.
Yes, and also, in comparison to what is as a distributor, distributor just said to us.
Good morning, everybody. I think that my first faith-based film was called Glimpse, and it was made for TV, and that was what really gingered me with Joba. So when we did Glimpse, the reception was so powerful. People calling and reaching out, how impactful, how blessed they were, with the film. So when I did Joba, I was convinced that this is Smashbox. I was gonna make money.
Okay.
I was so sure that the church was gonna be behind me. My church was behind me, because I do recall that my pastor stood on the pulpit and said, everybody, you must all, as a matter of fact, go and see this film, because this is an amazing. But I cannot even say I recorded the success that God calling recorded. No. Till today we're begging for church screenings. Yes. We've screened outside of this country. We've screened in South Africa. We're screening in London. But here, outside of the cinema, no church. It's either they're asking you, who is your pastor and all of this. Now, I'm a proud CAC. So, die by fire, you will hear it inside. I'm influenced, my writing is influenced by my experiences. So I'm not going to shy away from things like that. But you cannot judge me because this is the church I'm coming from. So the few people who went, watched it, they were blessed. Coming to cinema, I remember that when I had the idea and I'd done the script, and I spoke to Moses and I said, and I was so encouraged by his gusto of whenever this film is ready, we want it. But I also recall that there was a certain cinema on my first release day. They gave me one show, 11 a.m. And that was it. I sat on the floor and I was crying. I made such a scene that they said, okay, we'll give you 4 p.m. I don't understand. You have killed the film. Give it a chance. Give me my opening weekend. If it fails, then do whatever I want. But don't kill my film from the get-go. This cinema is not film one, please, because in case it's not them. It's not them. They gave me a good time for a month. They stood by me. My distributors stood by me. But this cinema, which is where you supposedly make
your money,
a lot of money. They give you 11 a.m. They knew me that day because I was like, are you kidding me? I was crying. I went knocking every door, changed the time, and they gave me only 4 p.m. for that day. And I'm saying, number one, this is a film that the youth that we have now, whether we like it or not, most of them it's not something they will gravitate towards immediately. The people who have the earning power, who have, who would want to come and see this, are working class. They will not come during lunch break. They will only come from 6. If you're taking away the privilege, I remember many people who said, I was in the cinema, I did not see I didn't get to see the film. I know people, in fact, we went out of the way to print tickets and said, okay, let me start pre-selling the tickets just to ensure that people will go and see it. And we sold.
Anybody seen Picture Perfect? Picture Perfect. Right hand, did you direct that as well? Produced and wrote The Visit? The Visit. So, Netflix is on Netflix, by the way. So this is a talented, filmmaker. you know, with by every sense of the word. People have perfected how to, write following Nollywood economics but impact. So I think I celebrate her and what she's done. But look, the reality we face and continually face is, during the time Joba was also released, there was a sense of audience apathy in terms of the flood room of films coming into the cinema at the time. And I'm not one to easily criticize this, because again, it's just as a result of the previous year's success. So when you hear the numbers of Chief Daddy, King of Boys, Merry Men, back to back to back, and they're facing Hollywood competition as well, do they have two heads? Why can't I go make my own film? And just before that, Vendor, why can't I go make my own film? And what then happens is, look, I will shoot my film and I would hopefully get a chance and I'll make money. And like I said, and I've said to everyone, we need to treat this evolution or transition very, very delicately. Because, and it's sad that, people would lose money in the instance, things will happen, it will give the industry some kind of reputation, but it might need to happen, to take us to the next level. Because forums like this would share more information on how to do it better. So I feel like, that happened, and therefore, consciously or unconsciously, our audiences, would prefer Hollywood. And Hollywood started very strongly in this year. It was important for us representing Fox to release the film day and date with the US because of the piracy risk. Would have been great to do, would have maybe to space it out a little bit and give all the support to Joba as we can as an industry.
So you accept the responsibility here?
Look, I'm trying to be honest, and like I like to look at things contextually, like, and so that, because for the benefit of the audience, but also let them see some of the challenges we face making decisions as well. So your studio that you represent, that is a slate of films that accounts for a good portion of your business, wanting something, and there is, a film, with potential. You've got to also look at it that a week apart, the audience size that we're even targeting is big enough. It's large enough. So on a good day, we're also fair, to the film itself. There should be a chance. But what then happened, like I said, just to wrap it up, was that because of that, of the slate of films coming from Nollywood that were not great, the perception towards Nigerian film generally, and it's still happening now. You're having to work twice as hard, to get your film to stand out. And unfortunately, the Hollywood films are really, they've had a higher share of audience favorites, not necessarily critically well-reviewed films, but films that are audience favorites with Nigerians, particularly. Example, X-Men. X-Men was panned everywhere. X-Men is almost 100 million in Nigeria. It's going to be top 10, top 12. Example, okay, Lion King is a global success, but it was modest reviews. But Lion King is in its 7th, 8th week in top 5. You can go on and on, ups and shorts. Spider-Man is still showing. So Hollywood has had a very resilient year. We think it would all get better, but look, it's not that. So I think that what then happened was, just comparing and looking at it, Joba was not probably first, second, or third choice with that competition that was going on. I think it was released April 5, right? And you had Avengers coming out April 26. So by the time it's on first 2 weeks, even if the word of mouth was strong, experience, plus some Chukwujeko, he had a personal experience, playing the role of the character. That's how powerful the film was, for him. It's unfortunate we are talking passionately about it now, and there's not a lot of revenues going in. But, but these are some of the things that happened. So it was not top of mind. Okay. And this is why, if there's any lessons to be learned, and to say to Biodo and filmmakers here, I've said it and I've said it repeatedly, you've got to see your film going into cinema as an event, as a project that requires a lot of effort beyond you shooting the film. a lot of effort packaging and positioning to be like I'm going to see a stage play. I'm going to see something that will take my money and it will be worth it. It cannot be just saying like, oh, I'm just going to place it there and we'll see what goes. Honestly, filmmakers, I appeal to you, faith-based or non-faith-based. Your film releases, check anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world, these things are meticulously planned, far in advance. You know, you are not releasing 1 or 2 teasers, you are releasing multiple trailers, you are having events, you are having press rounds, you know, you are having stakeholder screenings, it's not, you know, when people tell me they want to make 2-3 films a year, I'm like, are you sure? Some people can do it, but it's tough. So for you to come out in the cinema, it's got to be that. So if there's any feedback on that, it had to be that. Breakthrough had a global campaign that, you know, it benefited from.
And
it was a studio
P&A
release.
was global.
Global. So if you look at it, it's all those things that you're competing with regularly. And that's why, in spite of all this that I say and that maybe might be difficult for the young filmmaker, you have to celebrate what we've done as an industry. You know, with all those challenges, because I'm saying, oh, you know, painstakingly prepare and everything. It's expensive. It's not easy. So we having to fight all of that and now grow an audience that also respect and like our films, we've done well, but the challenges continue to evolve and they continue to get bigger. So we just need to prepare for them. So that would be my.
Do you want to respond to that?
That's just something that he said about the flow of the influx of not so good Nollywood movies. And I recall in 2017 when I released
volume of this line.
when I released Picture Perfect, you know, begging, trying to cajole people to watch it, you know, and then a follow-up of that with, you know, a lot of good TV movies. I thought, okay, we had built this brand such that when we are ready to go back to the cinema 2 years after, the conversation will get easier. But it did not. We went right back to 2017, having to beg, having to cajole, having to, you know, and that was because, and every time we spoke to a consumer and said, please go and watch my film. Which film? What do you do? This is how I watch this one. This is how I watch this one. So, you know, and those things just make your job, this is not a shade, it just makes your job difficult, because when you spend so much time trying to sell this your own good film, and some other films that have come to scatter the place,
and there are also who don't have business with doing bad films, right? So to see, because we talked about quality, how are you guys regulating what goes to the cinema? And we also said 2 days ago during the first session that distributors should be able to say no. You can't please everybody. There are some films that are made for television. You don't have any business. I've gone a couple of times to see Nigerian films. With the kind of exposure I've had going to markets, going to events, I really sit down and ask myself, are we really serious? Like, you know, I'm not a filmmaker, I'm not a producer, but I've had to ask myself that question. Is this what cinema is about? Right? Is this the kind of films that we see? Or maybe this is the level where we find ourselves. I'd rather not do something than just, you know, reduce myself to be mediocre, let it be that I'm doing it for the sake of, you know, for the sake of doing it. So I think it's very important for the exhibitors and the distributors to really sit up on that aspect of regulating what goes into the cinemas. Politely telling people that, listen, in all honesty, don't spend this money, right, in P&A. Because the question I also wanted to ask you was, doubling efforts. Did you do P&A? Like, what was your P&A? What was your marketing like?
If Mr. Moses, I think I'm the first person that has sold merchandise, you know, before, ever. When I did Picture Perfect with Disney, we made fabulous t-shirts, we made face cap, and it was not about, because we're selling at cost price, so it was not about making a profit. It was adopting a different kind of strategy. And so we did the same thing with Joba. We did a number of, we did a number of trailers in all the languages. We did posters in saying Joba was. We did a lot. I mean, I don't really have money, but I did. But with the little that I had, I made sure that I maximized, and I feel like I did my best. Yes.
All right. I'm going straight to the audience, but just one more thing I want to find out. What is after the cinema? Netflix, Amazon, iTunes. What is there hope?
Yes, there's hope. And I want to encourage filmmakers to please look into this genre very well. Looking into it, yes, with business intent, but to make an impact, but also to open up the conversation, like engage the churches, maybe some thought-provoking ones. We need to have some serious.
I'm so sorry. Engage churches. That's like the highest hurdle so far.
Yes.
If Blessing was here, she told me, Ijoma, you don't want me to come and talk because I'm going to mention names. And I'm going to talk about all the churches because she told me that every big church in Nigeria, that she went there before the release of her movie. She said that she can promise me that I don't want her to come and talk here because the things she's going to say are going to be unprintable. So I don't know, maybe it's God that's stopped her from coming. So this church hurdle, how do we crack it?
I'll be honest, I can't answer that one. I really cannot answer that one.
Okay, maybe I'm sure.
That's why it will be great to get the audience talk. But like you asked before, as long as the technical part of things is well taken care of, and you have a compelling story, I would like to like I said, because this is after my own heart personally, and with the modest privilege I have, to run a digital platform, I'll be willing to have a conversation with with anyone that has a faith-based story to tell that we can do in a compelling way and use the infrastructure we already have. We'll hope that the church will support, but if they don't, it'll be great to make a success of this. I really wanted us to do what God called it, and I think we've shown what's possible, but it will be great. But in terms of the ancillary platforms, those platforms are available. They are. I think Netflix is beginning to pick a few as well. But there's transactional VOD. As long as I believe as content is relatable, it has an emotional connection. I feel like faith-based is something that it can, it might have its own message, but I feel like it can easily, translate. How the war will make, was it $70 or $80 million in the US? I don't believe it was all Christians that went to see it. So that's why I say the power of the story and having, the right values or the entertainment value in it. So I think that's what we must look at doing and incorporating into our films. But in terms of distribution, the opportunities are there.
Okay, last question for you before I go in. How do you balance? Because Evangelist Mike Bamiloye was supposed to be here, but he's having a program currently that's flashing, so he really apologized because it was with us last year, and we had this conversation also. How do you balance the business side of this genre and the spiritual side of this genre? Because War Room, that is more like our case study, when you go to the credits, the prayer people, the people that were praying, so I want you to just, how, at least you are a Christian, right? And you're also a business person. How, for somebody who wants to go into it, is it that you must pay attention? Because I don't know how much of fasting and maybe praying and all that went to your own movie. As far as you are approaching it from the spiritual angle, you should also know that there's going to be contention and there's going to be opposition and there's going to be resistance. How do you, what would you have to tell filmmakers on that?
For me,
do you think it played a role, to the success of War Room?
It's a delicate balance. Like it's so difficult. I don't even know how to answer it because I just feel like they both you kind of are interrelated. I believe the spiritual side is very important, but you also need it to be successful, to make more and to make an impact. That's where it gets very delicate. But I feel like, honestly, to do this thing successfully, I believe the spiritual side has to be like on point, priority. I believe that's where I believe, and don't let us get to church today. I believe that's where you begin to get some insights, that deeper revelation on what you should do and you shouldn't do. I mean, just looking at War Room, they were unapologetically, focused on that, prayer group, and they give them credit across various units. It showed that it was deliberate, but yet it was a studio commissioned film. It was Sony.
It was Sunny.
It was Sony. It was Sony. So, and I hear, because we had a meeting with Sony and they brought this up, I was very impressed. A Sony studio executive sitting across the table, we're talking, and he's talking about all the various business, possibilities. And he's like, what a faith-based? We have a studio now for faith-based. And it's talking about
studio.
Sorry?
You have a dedicated studio.
Yes, Sony. Like everybody. Yes, correct. That's it. What do you call it? I'm like, the Hollywood studio executive is speaking to me, and there's a deliberate strategy towards this because of the successes of 1, 2, 3. It got me really thinking. Yes, on the business side, but I'm like, somebody has done something right here, and please God, I like to understand how, and that's what I'm passionate about it. And I hope that with a few partners and people that are passionate, I hope we'll be able to make something, like I said, do something that makes an impact, but that is also successful.
Okay. Do something that is impactful and successful. It has to be, so because you have to make money and also have impact, right? So now I come to you, and I want you really to address the church issue. Yes, I'm telling you what I want you to answer. I'm telling you the question or the comments that I'm expecting, because it is very, very, very disturbing.
I should also mention there's another person that made a faith-based, Stanley made a faith-based movie, the Hausa Trails. Yes.
There's an empty seat here. Come.
Yes, Stanley should come actually. Yes.
Please encourage him.
Yeah.
Stanley, come.
Well done. He actually did that. They might be able to. Yeah, I have a perspective to share.
All right. Should we take a comment from Stanley?
Yes.
Before we go?
Okay, the comment is fast. You cannot convince the churches. Yeah, you can't convince the churches. Practical, personal experience. We sent messages out to churches. We visited churches. Some of them did not even have the courtesy to reply to the messages. They did not even acknowledge the receipt of the messages. We did everything right. Moses here, correct me if there's something we did wrong. Yeah, something unfortunate happened. We had opening weekend glitches, so it really impacted on the movie. So I don't need to tell you that we didn't make so much money.
Cheating husband or them stuff, a lot of women can relate to it. No movie that relates with so many women has ever failed. Because they are the Telemundo and Z1 people. It never fails. So that angle alone, you don't need the church. Now, I go to a church that supports movies a lot. I go to House and Work. We've done Selma, we've done Captive, and a lot of faith-based movies in church, and they've really strived a lot. So we love movies, and we're planning to make a faith-based movie very, very soon, basically. But it has to do with the storytelling. What story are you telling? Besides you trying to make a faith-based movie, what kind of story are you telling? If you bank on churches and say churches support this movie, we might fail, because churches have a lot of competitions amongst each other. Basic. So let's not bank on that. Let's make a good movie. And truth be told, a larger population of Nigerians are Christians. So if we get them to accept, if we make a good story and put it in cinemas, they'll go watch it. It's faith-based, but it's a good story and they can relate to it. You can make an impact and make your money back. Captive, as good as it was, they spent $2 million on the movie and they made just $2.7 million. You won't call that, it's profit, but it wasn't like a War Room that made $47 million and they just spent $3 million making the movie. So story is important. Have a good story that people can relate with, and then you will make your impact. Let's just leave churches out of it. They
Thank
will
you.
get it.
Sorry, before you answer, it is really confusing for me that we're talking about leaving churches out of the equation. Honestly speaking, House on the Rock is just like what percentage of Christians in the whole of Nigeria? Have you screened Nigerian faith-based films? That's what they're asking. The God Calling.
They screen like 3 days.
No, God Calling.
And then for the Express concert, they supported God Calling. They played the premiere at the Express concert. We support these things. Come on, they play your trailer at the Experience, the biggest concert in Africa. Come on.
I actually wrote a letter to show you the outside trails in House on the Rock.
Okay. Let me have Biodun respond to that.
I just want to respond. How many people saw Joba? I don't know how many people saw Joba. This Joba story, you saw Joba. Joba was about childlessness. It's a relatable phenomenon. Half of the women in church are there to pray for 2 things: husband, child. Relatable. Everybody is going through it. So it was not a story problem. It is not that. It is not because it ticked every box you just said. It ticked it.
But stand our market, even House on the Rock. To be honest, every film that we've screened on House on the Rock has not done well. Right on the Nation, Selma. So if we don't even,
I understand.
I'm telling you, every movie that we've screened in House on the Rock has not done well.
Is there a
In the
correlation?
cinema. Yes, because Nigerians do not like anything close to their reality to go to the cinema to see.
Wow. God bless
It's
you.
not even about faith-based. Political films. If it's even drama, that's why we should never use King of Boys. Because even when King of Boys, I'm like, okay, I'm afraid of drama. How are we going to make it? Some people always say, oh, if you want to always pushing comedy. You don't even know how many dramas we released last year. And you don't know about it, but yet you know about comedy. So if we do not understand our market, as much as Nigerians, we love to pray there's a church on every street, Nigerians do not like to hear movies that are even mentioned in the church. Because automatically connected that is religious and they're not going to watch it in the cinema. We've had this debate many times. We've had people in our offices that have gone to each church. That lucky this thing, which church didn't they go to for breakthrough? Thank God for Pastor Goki, because I don't even know how we would have done it. So I don't know if solving the problem is a good story. Good story is not the problem. Let's never even address that issue because we all know Joba, even the 10 virgins as well, that was a story. But if we do not understand what our market even likes, that's why Tyler Perry does it so well. He'll make you laugh, but there's a message. And that's why anybody that's come to our office, I always tell them, I love that you want to address this Christian faith, but we have to paint it under a lot of paint it. If you tell a Nigerian you're coming straight to watch a Christian movie, no. But if you know that it's just a movie and somehow you get a message from it, somehow a Nigerian will say, it touched me. Let's go and watch. That's how it is. So that's my comment.
So sorry, Mimi, do you think that also impacted God Calling? Having the title God in it?
It was funny enough, that actually came up. The cinemas actually mentioned that just for that God Calling being inside, we were like, I'm a Christian film. It actually came up because we always ask the cinema floor managers like how people are engaging with films, and yes, it was just like how Mr. Patrick Lee said, which was in a title, and it turned people away. It's those type of things that come up.
So Mimi, yes, we work together and we have a lot of these banters. So are we saying like unashamedly faith-based film that also has Jesus, the gospel, inserted in it, won't work in Nigeria?
I'm saying that we need to approach it in a different way.
How?
No, that's what I said. Like how Tyler Perry has done it. We need to look at it and we need to paint it.
So we should forget the genre faith-based.
So
is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry, but that's what I'm saying.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what I am saying.
For
us to make that impact. Wait, no.
We'll
for us to make that.
We'll talk professionally offline.
No, but can I finish my point? To be honest, in my church, Harvesters, there's a way they will always invite you to come to church for a comedy show. But to be honest, every time we've had a comedy show, it's full to the brim. But somehow you're leaving that experience filled with the Spirit afterwards. There's a reason why they do it, and our pastor always says it, that we always do it this way in order to get the numbers in. Because he understands the market that he's dealing with. He knows what it is. Oh, they always say our church is very Oyibo, but somehow you feel the Spirit no matter when you walk into that room. And there's something he's done. I am for faith-based film any day. I have watched the whole time, I'm very back and forth. Any TDJ I have. But look at Jumping the Boom. Look at that. I will push for faith-based, but unfortunately in the market that we're in, you cannot print on top of it faith-based. Just say, I'm coming for a different spiritual experience. That will probably get me into the door. That's what I'm saying. So, God, please don't reduce myself.
Yes. Go ahead.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Victor, I'm so sorry. We're coming to you. Please. I didn't know you were with the mic.
Okay, so my name is Willis Kedum. I'm a filmmaker. I'm going to add to what she said. Now, right now, I have 13 episodes of a TV series it's going to launch soon. I also have a movie about the same. It's called Pastor's House, right? So now that's the kind of movies. How I test my audience from the script level is I sent to even Muslims, and they read it and enjoyed it, and they got the message. The message that was passing was straight. But like she said, I painted it with kinds of entertainment and all that. It was a pastor, don't get me, it's a pastor in his house, an office, and everything that happens. But it's something that a Muslim, one of the script editors read, she's a Muslim. She read it and understood everything. I was worried at the point, like she wouldn't understand some of the things, but she understood everything and got the point. When I called her, the first line she gave was what I wanted the audience to take home with.
So
what I'm saying is, what she said is you have to look at what can appeal to the audience, or what is appealing to the audience, and then have this your faith base put in it, embedded in it. Where they watch it, after watching, you have a message that you want to pass.
Solve that. That's it.
So
Victor, let me take your question, please.
Yes. Invite any church.
Sorry, we had the
You
don't respond to anything, that's why.
And this is my reason. We can't just conclude that we know why the churches are rejecting screening the films. They might have their own reasons. And that reason might just be as genuine as the way we're expressing our concern, that they didn't accept it. I mean, there was a time in my church that we didn't allow external.
We're not talking about screening in church, telling people to go to cinema.
A lot of people say they churches to go and screen. I've also talked to people, my colleagues in the industry.
There are two different revenues.
Reasons why the church panned.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about now. So they may have their own reasons for not allowing the film they don't know about. They don't know who made the film to come and screen in their church. Again, even announcing to tell members to go and watch the film. And we shouldn't blame the churches. You cannot make a film as your business and then depend on. You made that film as a business for yourself. You did not consult the church before you made the film. They didn't give you a go-ahead. Did you consult them to say, can I make this film? When I finish, I will come and put an announcement in your church. Did they give you a go-ahead? So what I'm saying is that when we make a film, of course, producers, like myself, when our film bumps in the office, we blame everybody but ourselves. We see reasons why it didn't do well. The distributor is a wizard, the cinemas are this, that, but ourselves, we did everything perfectly. So when we blame people, or when we blame organizations for not supporting our film, somebody was just sitting beside me here, my colleague, and she said she never heard about Jobba. And she's a filmmaker, she's in the industry, she said she never heard about the film. So we can say we printed merchandise, we did everything. Kudos to us, but did we really do what we should?
What is that thing that we should?
Hold on.
Publicity.
I'm coming, yes. So the same way with what I'm saying is that when we do a faith-based film, we shouldn't depend upon when we watch War Room. We didn't hear about it from the church. It wasn't any church that told us about war room. It wasn't any church that told us about breakthrough.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth. We saw the
Pirated
whatever. Yeah,
copies.
no, not pirated copy. We saw the behind advertising publicity everywhere. And then
Was it released in Nigeria?
then you are told to, then that compels you. Then when you see it, it's faith-based. Okay, as a Christian, I'm compelled to go. When you see clips of war room, you'll be forced to go and watch the film. I'm saying, as filmmakers, we do our best. We work in Nigeria where it is so difficult to make anything happen. We use sweat and blood to make film, and then we don't get it back. Some of us can't pay school fees or house rent because we put our money in films. And it's not our fault. The climate we work in, is so hard, it's so difficult, the terrain is so rough. But we must keep pushing. So I'm saying, let's tone down on the blame game. Let's just know that when you make a film, whether it's faith-based or anything, and then you do all that you know to do, and then it still didn't work, just relax. Look for money, make another film, and believe God. Thank you.